Welcome back. Our next guest was inspired to become an astronaut at 9 years of age when he watched Neil Armstrong walk on the moon.
Over 55 years since the moon landing, Chris Hadfield has gone on to become one of the most prolific astronauts in history, completing 3 trips to the International Space Station and 2 spacewalks. Good morning to you, Chris.
Good morning. Lovely to join you both.
It's fantastic to have you here with us on the sofa.
Thank you for opening the door for me. It was very kind.
Letting you in. And sorry I didn't bring you the tea, but we hope we got you sorted.
With the tea.
Hey, tell me, forget all this spacewalks rubbish or whatever else. I believe you become a grandfather. You have a 2-week-old granddaughter.
I have
in Dublin.
An Irish granddaughter, yeah, born here, and I'm so excited. And she's just starting to focus her eyes and look at me in the eye now. Her name's Wren, W-R-E-N, Wren, and my daughter's a professor here at Trinity, and I'm as excited as a person can be to have a granddaughter like that. It's lovely.
It's your second grandchild.
Our second granddaughter, yeah, that's right. And the other one, when she finds out she's no longer my screensaver, she'll be
not too happy.
Anyway, that's not
delightful.
Good. You'll have to swap.
Wealthy man to have 2 granddaughters.
It is it's so lovely. And you're always going all over the place. You're in Ireland a lot because of your daughter, of course. But I suppose there's so much going on in the world, especially in relation to space, in leaving our own world. A lot on the news, obviously, of the 2 astronauts that were stranded on the International Space Station, Butch Wilmore and Sonny Williams.
Yeah, I know them both well.
Yeah. Like, how are they? I'm assuming that they're...
Well, actually, they were never stranded in space, but now they're stranded on Earth. They can't leave. It's kind of sad. On the space station, they were going around the world 16 times a day and of the place that they wanted to be. And it's what astronauts do. It was kind of a funny misrepresentation by a lot of media that they were stranded on the space. That's what astronauts do for a living. So they were never stranded.
It was quite interesting because it was in the news last week talking about putting blame, and they weren't putting blame on anybody.
Butch was incredible, wasn't he?
Yeah, but it's actually interesting the take that you had, because I gather they were only meant to go to the space station for a week. They ended up being there an awful lot longer. But that's kind of living out your dream. That's what you want to do.
Imagine if you had trained for 5 years and then you took the enormous risk to fly a brand new rocket that no one had ever flown and a spaceship no one had ever flown. Take that huge risk and get to the space station and then come home after only 8 days. What a waste. To be able to stay for 8 months, a much more fulfilling purpose to what they were doing. And that's how they felt about it. Sonny was commander of the space station. They did spacewalks to help do things outside. They had and they both want to fly in space again. So I think that's the true measure of their point of view. But there's all sorts of people piling on politics on top, which is typical, but kind of irrelevant.
When you're being explorers, like essentially you're exploring that new frontier of everything that you're doing, because up on the space station, there is so many experiments being done. Like, it's a very active place.
Well, imagine if in the last 90 minutes, instead of being here in the studio, the 2 of you had gone around the world once. And you'd seen the entire planet out your window. And you'd been working on 200 experiments from top-end researchers all around the world. And you were floating weightless the whole time. It's a magnificent, amazing, new human experience. And we've been living on the space station for almost 25 years. So it's kind of an amazing time in history where we're leaving the planet. And it gets lost in all the daily interpersonal hubbub. But it's also pretty historic. I
want to get to that, leaving the planet, in a second, but I have to ask you about a spacewalk. You've done 2,
I've done 2.
Right? Explain to us, that must be the most special thing that anybody could ever do.
Yeah, you're wearing this very cumbersome, it looks like a suit of clothing, but it's really a one-person spaceship. You know, completely independent, with all of your life equipment on life support and a jetpack on your back. And you're in this tiny little airlock, dark, bumping around. You open the hatch, you grab on, and you pull yourself out into the universe. And now suddenly the world is huge and silent and fantastically gorgeous to look at. And you look the other way and you're in the eternal blackness of the universe itself. And that's you. You know, this little kid who grew up somewhere who's now out physically starting to take the first steps away from Earth. It's overwhelmingly beautiful. But also there's a great sense of humility and portent in what's happening. It's an amazing human experience.
When you say words like that and describe an experience like that, I go to a place of terror. Like, there are people who are born for this and people who aren't, because that, my brain goes to the infinity the infinity of space and
Right.
and kind of the nothingness or whatever. I know you wouldn't say nothingness, but then that quiet, like I actually can't imagine it, and it feels scary. Like I watched Gravity, and I think I hid under my thing. I was like, oh my God, they're just floating away, and there's nothingness. There's just, where are they going?
Well, I drove here on the M50. We almost hit another car. It's kind of dangerous this morning, so yeah, a lot less collisions up there. No, I mean, everything worth doing in life has risk. Everything that's really worth doing has some level of risk. Learning to ride a bike or get married or have a child or whatever, they're all risky things. The real question is this a risk that you want to take? And then do it as well as you possibly can. And I dreamed about it since I was 9, and it was better than I dreamed it would be.
Was it?
It's spectacular. While I was outside, we went through the aurora of the world, through like the northern lights, but in this case the southern lights, south of Australia. And they were pouring around me and pouring around the ship. And to be able to surf on the world's aurora, it's a risk worth taking.
Oh my God, it sounds amazing. When we mentioned there, you saw Neil Armstrong at the age of 9 years old.
Yeah.
Like, was that the dream?
Yeah, my parents let me, in Canada where I live, it was late at night in the middle of the summer, and my parents let us stay up late to watch it. And my brother and I were on a couch like this one, you know, a whole bunch of people in the living room because there was only one television on the island where we spend the summer. And I just thought, that's the most amazing human adventure that I could imagine. I want to do that. If that's a thing that people can do, then I want to do that. I'm going to grow up to be something. Why don't I grow up to be that? And so I consciously decided, just as I was turning 10, that of all life's adventures, that's the one I want to be part of. And amazingly enough, a lot of things had to happen,
Yeah.
and I had to change who I was significantly. But the stars aligned, and I flew in space, as you mentioned, 3 times.
The person you've changed to become is, you know, it's like listening to a space philosopher. Like, it's unbelievable. Like, why aren't you doing ASMR and calming everyone down from their anxiety just talking to us at night? It's so wonderful. I suppose.
Come to my show, and I will.
Oh, there we go. There he goes. He's straight in. We're getting to the show.
Many tickets left.
June 15th is when you're going to be in the Borgosh Energy Theatre. But I suppose people have gotten caught up. It's gotten quite political. Space, it always has been political.
Always
Let's
has
be
been.
honest, the space race, it's always
Sure.
been political. But people have gotten into the minutiae of like how it is on your body, on your mind when you're away, especially when people were thinking about Sonny and they were seeing Butch and Sonny taken out of the capsules in the way that they were. It's got to be mad after 5 months to come back to gravity.
Yeah, and for Sonny and Butch, it was almost 9 months.
Yeah.
But your body adapts to being in space pretty completely after about a month. So whether it's a month or 5 months or 9 months, your body's sort of fully adapted to being weightless. So when you come back, I mean, you've been this graceful, elegant, lazy person because you don't even have to lift your arm, you don't have to hold your head up, and your heart shrinks because it doesn't have to lift your blood all the way from your toes to your head. So when you come back, there's a lot of time to get your body back in shape. But Sunny, she's already run a 3-mile run since she got back, and she's very fit. She runs marathons, so she's fit. Wow. And she's keen to fly in space again. So some things are just worth doing, and that's what Sonny and Butch have said over and over again. But you're right, there's always politics at that scale. But you have to recognize what's real and what's just posturing, and not get too caught up in the day-to-day shouting of people.
Well, what do you make of it? I suppose the richest people in the world are involved in the space race, if you want to call it that now, in Elon Musk with SpaceX, and you've got Jeff Bezos with the Blue Origin. We've got this Katy Perry and Gayle King and Lauren Sanchez are going up on this girls' mission or whatever way they're trying to parse it. What do you make of all of that?
Well, I think if we were sitting here 100 years ago, when aviation was new and the very first airlines had just started flying and we were discussing airplanes, it would be sort of like, well, you know, that's what's wrong with a horse and a autobus, you know, and what is all this new stuff? And it's dangerous. Airplanes crash all the time, and you know, and no one knows how to integrate it into society. That's kind of where we are in spaceflight. You say it's just billionaires. It used to just be trillionaires. You had to be the United States or the Soviet Union because it was so complex and dangerous and expensive. But the cost is plummeting so that now 4 women can buy a ticket and just go by themselves up to space. There are 4 people that just launched last week for 4 days and went around the North Pole and the South Pole for 3 days. The technology has gotten so good that the price is rapidly dropping. And it's sort of like aviation early on. And you need to recognize we're in transition right now, and it will settle out with just another thing that people can do. But for now, it's just confusing, especially when everybody's yelling about it every day.
Whenever you're doing your show in the Board Gosh coming up, you will discuss the unique perspective you have of where we are in human history. Can you give us an inkling of what you believe?
Sure. I have 7 friends right now who are living off-world. We've been living off-world since the turn of the century. Some human beings no longer live on Earth. And there are 4 friends of mine going to the moon in 10 months. And a private vehicle landed on the moon a month ago. A company built a little lander that landed and did experiments and drilled into the moon. There's 400 billion liters of water frozen into the craters of the moon. So all of the space agencies are working towards building the first settlements on the moon, solar-powered, using local water. And so that's where we are in history. We're leaving Earth. For the first time in 4 billion years, life is leaving Earth. And it all gets lost in the stuff we all distract ourselves with every day. But that's actually where we are historically. And politicians come and go. We hire them for a 4-year cycle for a reason. And they do what they're very passionate about, good or bad. But meanwhile, humanity is exploring and leaving to kind of a new whole continent of opportunity for the first time ever. And I think it's important to pay attention to the day-to-day and the good and the bad of that, but don't lose sight of what we've been doing for 300,000 years and where we are this year.
Amen. Let's go.
We're going space.
Come on, Tommy, let's go.
It's incredible the infinite resources that are available. We see satellites where the trajectory of the world is going.
Right.
Is it exciting or is it scary?
Well, things are only scary if you're not ready.
Is the world ready, though, to take...
The world's never been ready for the future, but somehow we've muddled along, even with civilization, for 10,000 years. And there's always things to be concerned about. We've gone through world wars. We've gone through the invention of nuclear power. We've gone through the plague, and big pandemics. We've gone through huge blasts. Here's a really interesting thing. If you look at trees from the year 760 or so, they soaked up, if you take that little tree ring from 1 year, it soaked up a huge amount of radiation because there was a huge blast from the sun 1,300 years ago. So occasionally we've lived through enormous blasts of electromagnetic energy from the sun, and yet we're still here.
We're still here.
And we're muddling through. And it seems hard now because we're the current crop of adults, but all those previous crops of adults had to face up to it and put it on their shoulders and move forwards.
Can we just finish before we go as well? Your cover of Space Oddity by David Bowie, a lot of people will recognise you from that video. Why did you do that? It was
I've always been a musician, and there's a guitar permanently up on the space station. I wrote and recorded a whole album of music when I was supposed to be asleep up there. And my son said, "Dad, all kinds of people, you should cover a sort of a well-known space song." So I had the ridiculous audacity to cover a Bowie tune. But Bowie loved it. He said very complimentary things, and he always dreamed of flying in space. So anyway, all kinds of stuff. I have a new book coming out as well. That's
Final Orbit.
Final Orbit, that is getting rave early reviews. It's my 3rd in a thriller fiction series, and it's selling great all around the world. Been a bestseller. So yeah, all kinds of fun stuff happening.
6-book 3rd in this thriller fiction. It's out in October. It's available for pre-order now. That's Final Orbit, and you're going to be in Bord Gáis Energy Theatre on June the 15th for a journey into the cosmos. So you can get tickets on Ticketmaster. There's 2 shows that day. In between, you'll have the granddaughter, and then he'll talk to you. And a
busy man.
Lovely Ren. Chris Hadfield, a pleasure. Thank you so much.
A delight to talk with you.
Lovely.
Thank you, Chris.
Thanks.
Really enjoyed that.